The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
On the first day of the week, at early dawn, the women who had accompanied Jesus from Galilee came to the tomb, taking the spices that they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly 2 men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their heads to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you, while he was still in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and on the third day rise again." Then the women remembered Jesus' words, and returning from the tomb, they told all this to the 11 and to all the rest. Now it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the mother of James, and the other women with them who told this to the apostles. These words seemed to the apostles an idle tale, and they did not believe the women. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb. Stooping and looking in, he saw the linen cloths by themselves. Then he went home, amazed at what had happened. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Christ is risen. Alleluia, alleluia.
Alleluia.
Alleluia. Thanks be to God. I think I got a better response than you did. When I was growing up, Easter was an important celebration in our household. We would observe the Easter Triduum. We would go to Mass on Holy Thursday and celebrate the institution of the Eucharist. We would attend Friday afternoons and listen to the Passion of Jesus. And of course, the vigil on Saturday night, as well as, like yourselves today, we would also attend on Easter Sunday. But I particularly liked the Easter Vigil because those readings that we read last night from the Old Testament, it just walks us through our salvation history over many, many hundreds of years. And it was also exciting to welcome the new Catholics who were instituted that night. As an altar server, I had a front row seat to all that happened, and I was able to participate in the liturgy, the incense, the bells, the prayers, and assisting at communion as well. Easter Sunday was also about the turkey and, of course, Easter candy as well. And my 2 older sisters would model their newest Easter fashions that they had picked out the week before. Easter was a celebration like no other. But when we look at that first Easter morning for those first disciples, Easter was also about doubt and confusion, and there was darkness as well. Our gospel tells us, on the first day of the week at early dawn. In John's gospel, he describes Easter morn as early on the first day of the week while it was still dark. Our Easter gospels begin in darkness, and that is no accident. In the Bible, darkness often signifies spiritual blindness and sin. And I'm sure we can all recall periods of darkness in our own lives as well. Excuse me. In the early dawn, the semi-darkness, the women make their way to the tomb, and their sight is diminished by the gloom around them. For these early disciples, Easter was a process as well as an event. In our gospel, Peter was left in confusion. He was unable to grasp what had happened, and he simply goes home. He had forgotten what Jesus had told him, all those things he had told him. Mary Magdalene in John's gospel doesn't even recognize Jesus when he walks right up to her. She thinks he's the gardener. And on the road to Emmaus, the disciples don't recognize Jesus until the breaking of the bread. In our gospel tonight, the disciples don't even believe the women who have come to tell them of the empty tomb. The process of belief takes time. Our perceptions are often influenced by the experiences that we have in our lives. And so the truth is sometimes difficult to see. Our Easter mornings can be much like that first Easter morning that our disciples experienced. We are confused by the darkness of our world. We're blind to the truth that so many people claim to own. We question our beliefs, and our senses are dulled by misinformation and by all of the distractions that we have around us. The story of the first Easter acknowledges that gap between faith and understanding, between loss and hope. I believe, Lord, but help my unbelief. How many times have I said that? I can see this type of process unfolding in those who are grieving the loss of a loved one. Grief is a process that takes time and effort to come to a place of rebirth where life has meaning again, where one finds new reasons to live, and where they can once again feel God's love that permeates their lives. It takes time. The Easter season is a time of conversion, a process that opens us up to what God is doing inside of us, a time to find hope in the middle of that empty tomb. It may even take a lifetime to figure all this out. I think it's probably going to take me a lifetime. But the Lord is patient. He's patient with us. Thank God for that. Father John talked about love and mercy on Good Friday, and he talked about what love looks like when it costs everything, and it cost Jesus everything. We see what sin looks like when we see what our choices did to Jesus on the cross, and we see mercy at how he refused to give up on his persecutors, and he refuses to give up on us to this very day. His love is truly everlasting. And that is what Easter is about. It's about God's love. It's about his mercy. And it's about hope. We see this time and time again in the unconditional love of Jesus. Even in our brokenness, he loves us. Even in our sin, he dies for us. Who else would go through that for us? No one. No one would go through that except our God of love and mercy. By his example, we learn to love unconditionally. We learn to show mercy to all of those who need it. And we learn to proclaim the hope that never disappoints, the hope in everlasting life. I want you to pray for each other today. Pray that our darkness will be lifted, our eyes opened, and our confusion resolved, and our fear melted away. Pray that God will unite our suffering to the cross of his Son, Jesus. Pray that we will roll away those stones that keep us from practicing love and mercy and hope to all. May our Easter season be full of God's presence, and may there be everlasting hope in God's promises and his ever-faithful love to each and every one of us. I will leave you with these words from Pope St. John Paul II, and he proclaimed these words during his papal visit to Australia back in 1986. And this is what he said: "We do not pretend that life is all beauty. We are aware of darkness and sin, of poverty and pain, but we know Jesus has conquered sin and passed through his own pain to the glory of the resurrection. And we live in the light of his paschal mystery, the mystery of his death and resurrection. We are an Easter people, and Alleluia is our song. We are not looking for a shallow joy, but rather a joy that comes from faith, and a joy that grows through unselfish love, that respects the fundamental duty that we have to love our neighbor, without which it would be unbecoming to speak of joy."